Let me be honest with you right now. Arsenal are sitting on a 1-0 lead against Sporting Lisbon. One game, one win. And they are back in the Champions League semi-finals for the second year running. That is massive. That is genuinely historic stuff. But here is the problem. Bukayo Saka, gone. Martin Odegaard, doubtful. Ricardo Calafiori, doubtful. Jurriën Timber, doubtful. Mikel Merino, completely out. Does that sound like a team ready to finish the job on one of the biggest nights of the season? I am not sure. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans are quietly nervous right now, even though they will not say it out loud. Let us talk about everything happening at the Emirates right now. The injuries, the Bournemouth loss, the suspension risks, and what Wednesday night actually means for this club. First, let us appreciate what Arsenal have done here before we get into the doom and gloom. Let us just stop and recognise something. Arsenal beat Sporting Lisbon in their own stadium, away from home, in the Champions League quarter-final, 1-0. And the goal came from Kai Havertz coming off the bench in the second half. Kai Havertz, by the way, the same player that a lot of fans were not fully sure about when he first signed. That man has been stepping up in big moments this season. If you told me a few years ago that Havertz would be the match winner in a Champions League quarter-final first leg, I probably would not have believed you. But here we are, and the thing is, Arsenal did this without Saka, without their main attacking threat, without the player who stretches defences, creates panic and unlocks spaces. They won without him. That tells you something about how this team has grown. Now they come home. The Emirates, Wednesday night, European football under the lights. There is nothing better than that, and the crowd will be absolutely electric. The question is, will the players be ready? The injury situation is genuinely worrying. Okay, let us get into the injury list because this is the main talking point right now and it needs to be addressed properly. Bukayo Saka, major doubt. This is the one that hurts the most. Saka picked up a knock on England duty and he has not played since the Carabao Cup final. Think about that for a second. The Carabao Cup final, that was weeks ago. He did not travel to Lisbon for the first leg. He missed the Bournemouth game on Saturday. When Arteta was asked about Saka before the Bournemouth match, his answer was not exactly encouraging. He basically said there was no concrete update. No, he is close. No, he will be fine. Just uncertainty. And when a manager is being that vague about his best player, it usually means things are not going great behind the scenes. Saka is not just a footballer for Arsenal. He is the heartbeat of this team. He is the player that makes everything else work. When he is on the pitch, defenders have to account for him, and that creates space for everyone else. When he is not there, Arsenal look different. They look slower. They look more predictable. The chances of him playing on Wednesday are described as slim. Let us be honest, that is a huge blow. Martin Odegaard, minor doubt, but still a doubt. Here is where it gets interesting with Odegaard. He actually picked up a knock during the first leg itself. He was taken off in the 70th minute. And then after the game, there were photos of him celebrating with the squad, which gave people hope. But then he was missing from training. He was not in the squad for the Bournemouth game. And again, Arteta was very quiet about his availability. The one positive sign, he was spotted arriving at the Emirates with the team ahead of the Bournemouth match. That suggests his issue is not a serious long-term injury. It gives you a little bit of hope that he might be available midweek. Now, let me put some context around Odegaard's situation because it is important. This man has been injured 4 separate times this season. 4 times. He has played just over 1,000 league minutes in total. For a player who is supposed to be your captain and creative leader, that is a very low number. And there are genuine questions being asked, quietly for now, about whether this level of physical fragility is becoming a problem. Fabrizio Romano actually highlighted this situation earlier in the season when Odegaard suffered his ankle issue, pointing out that Arsenal's medical staff were being extremely careful with him. Their priority was to have him back at 100%, not to rush him. Romano said Arsenal absolutely want Martin to take his time to return when he's 100% fit. That approach makes sense. You do not want to get him back for one game only for him to break down again. But when you are 90 minutes from a Champions League semi-final, you really want your captain on that pitch. Ricardo Calafiori, major doubt Calafiori did not even make the squad for the Bournemouth game, and nobody is fully sure why. The injury has not been given a clear explanation. He missed training on Thursday, he was absent on Saturday, and his status for Wednesday is still unclear. Calafiori has been one of the more impressive performers for Arsenal this season. He brings quality, composure and leadership from the back. Losing him at this stage is not ideal at all. Jurrien Timber, minor doubt Timber, has not played since mid-March when he came off injured against Everton. He was expected to travel to Lisbon, but he did not make the trip. Arteta said he hoped Timber would be ready for the weekend, but then he was not in the squad for Bournemouth either. This is becoming a pattern, and it is frustrating. Timber is a player with real quality. He gives Arteta tactical flexibility. But his fitness has been a question mark throughout his time at Arsenal. Going back to that ACL injury he suffered in his very first game for the club. You want to believe he is fine, but the evidence right now is not making it easy to stay confident. Mikel Merino, completely out Merino, had surgery on a foot fracture a couple of months ago, and there is no confirmed return date. The reports say he is working hard to come back before the season ends and get himself fit for the World Cup. But for Arsenal and for this game, he is not available. Full stop. That is 5 players, 5 significant players, who are either out or doubtful for one of the biggest games of the season. That is a lot. What happened against Bournemouth and why it matters? Let us talk about Saturday, because that result left a bad taste. Arsenal lost 2-1 to Bournemouth at the Emirates, at home. And it was not just the result, it was the way it happened. Bournemouth were the better side. Junior Krupi and Alex Scott scored the goals, and Arsenal could not find a proper response. Victor Gyökeres scored a penalty for Arsenal. Yes, that Gyökeres, the same striker who used to play for Sporting Lisbon. There is some painful irony in that. This was a potentially title-damaging defeat. Arsenal have been in the race all season, and every dropped point now feels like it matters enormously. Losing at home to Bournemouth without your key players sends a message, and it is not a good one. But here is the argument that some people will make, and it is a fair one. Arsenal were clearly managing their squad. They were missing Saka, Odegaard, Calafiori and Timber. The priority, even if nobody will say it publicly, was Wednesday, the Champions League, because that is where the glory is this week. I can see both sides of that argument, but the question is, will those players actually be available on Wednesday? Because if they are not, then you sacrifice points in the title race and you still do not have your best players available. That would be the worst of both worlds. The suspension picture, a warning sign here, is something that is flying slightly under the radar. For the Sporting second leg itself, Arsenal have nobody suspended. Good news, you can pick your best available exi without worrying about bans. But, and this is important, both Christian Norgard and Martin Zubimendi are 1 yellow card away from missing the first leg of a potential semi-final. Think about that for a moment. If Arsenal beat Sporting and progress, those 2 players walk into the next round on a knife edge. 1 reckless tackle, 1 frustrated foul, 1 moment of madness, and they are sitting in the stands for the first leg of the semi-final. Arteta will have to manage this very carefully on Wednesday. If the game is comfortable and Arsenal are cruising, you take those players off before they pick up any unnecessary cards. But if the game is tight and you need them on the pitch to hold things together, it becomes a risk management game. You want the result tonight, but you also cannot afford to lose important players before the next round even starts. It is one of those things that managers have to think about that fans sometimes overlook, the game within the game. What does this mean for Arsenal right now? Let me give you my honest take. Arsenal are in a strong position in this tie. A 1-0 lead from the away leg is a great result. Sporting will have to come to London and attack. And when teams have to come to the Emirates and push forward, Arsenal, even a depleted Arsenal, are dangerous on the counter. But the injury crisis is real. This is not just 1 or 2 players. This is potentially 5 key names unavailable. That is a serious squad problem at a critical moment. The positive is that Kai Havertz is in brilliant form. He got the winner in Lisbon. He is someone who rises to big occasions, and Arsenal have shown all season that they can win without their biggest names. They did it in the first leg. The concern is that Sporting, even though they are underdogs, are not a bad side. They were good enough to make the quarter-finals. If they score an early goal at the Emirates and Arsenal have to chase the game without Saka and Odegaard, that becomes very difficult. There is also the mental side of things. Arsenal lost to Bournemouth on Saturday. That stings. You do not want your players going into a Champions League semi-final qualifier with low confidence and a fresh defeat in their minds. Wednesday is a chance to reset, a chance to remind everyone, the fans, the critics themselves, what this team is capable of. And honestly, I think they will get the job done. I am backing Arsenal here. The home crowd will be massive. The 1-0 lead takes a lot of pressure off, and even a patched-up Arsenal side has enough quality to see this through. A few questions for you before I wrap this up. Let me ask you something direct. Do you think Arsenal should have rested their key players against Sporting in the first leg and kept them fresh for the Premier League? Or was going all out in Europe the right call? Because that is a genuine debate that is worth having. The Champions League is the dream, but the Premier League is the bread and butter. Right now, Arsenal are dealing with injuries that are affecting both competitions at the same time, and the fixture pile-up is clearly taking a physical toll on this squad. And here is another one for you. Do you trust Arteta to set this team up properly for Wednesday without Saka? Because some fans do, completely. Others are not so sure. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what the Arsenal community is thinking right now. What to watch on Wednesday when that game kicks off? These are the things I will be watching closely. First, Havertz. Does he start? Does he come off the bench again? The man is in form and he loves a big occasion. He needs to be central to whatever Arsenal do going forward. Second, the defensive shape. Sporting will attack, they have to, and without some of Arsenal's first choice options at the back, the defensive organisation has to be absolutely right from the first whistle. Third, the crowd. The Emirates on a European night is a different animal. The atmosphere can lift the team when they are struggling. It can make the opposition nervous. Do not underestimate the impact the fans can have in a game like this. And fourth, the yellow cards. Watch Nørgaard and Zubamendi. If either of them starts getting into challenges they do not need to, that is going to be a problem. Look, at the end of the day, Arsenal are 90 minutes away from back-to-back Champions League semi-finals. 90 minutes. Whatever is going on with the injuries, whatever happened at the weekend, that is the only thing that matters right now. This squad has shown all season that they can handle adversity. They have fought through fixture congestion, through injuries, through moments where the whole world seemed to be writing them off, and they are still here, still competing, still fighting on every front. Wednesday night at the Emirates is going to be something special. I genuinely believe that. Get behind the team, make some noise, and let us finish the job. Come on, you Gunners.